Okay, so now we are reaching to the last kingdom in the domain of eukarya, which is kingdom Animalia. Okay, so you should be able to describe the characteristic of kingdom Animalia. Okay, right. So this is just to show you a little bit on the possible phylogeny or hierarchy on that can be seen in the kingdom of Animalia. Right, you can see that here it has been proposed to be started from the ancestral of protists, right? And then animal evolve by having multicellularity with having tissue, right? So some animal have tissue and some are not having true tissue. So this is meant for the phylum Porifera, which is meant for sponges. Okay, and those animals that have tissue, they are then subdivided based on their body symmetrical. Some have radial body symmetry and some have bilateral symmetry. So the one that have radial symmetry is Cnidaria. So from here, you know that Cnidaria, example here, jellyfish. Jellyfish is classified under Cnidaria. So Cnidaria have tissue and Cnidaria have radial body symmetry. So this is how to understand the phylogeny. Okay. And the animals that have bilateral symmetry then are divided based on their body cavity. So some animals have no body cavity and some have body cavity, right? For animal that have no body cavity is in the phylum of Platyhelminthes. Example here, the flatworm ataupun kita panggil sebagai cacing pipih. Alright? And those animals that have body cavity, they are then look into the cavity. Okay, next we go to the general features of animal, where all animal are eukaryote. Okay, lack of cell wall, able to reproduce sexually. So all animal are heterotrophic organism, and some have a motile stage during their life cycle. Motile means they might be moving in a spinning movement like that, so called. Okay, and animals able to make rapid responses to external stimulus except for sponges, because sponges are not able to make responses to external stimulus, right? One of the reason is because sponges cannot move, and animal have nervous coordination. Okay, next. Animal can be categorized by its body plan. The first one is by looking at the body symmetrical. Next is in terms of tissue, where tissue allows specialized structures and function, and also body cavity and segmentation, or we call as repeated body unit. Okay, now let's see how animal characterized by its symmetry. Okay, some animal have absence of symmetry. Maksudnya they have no definite shape. Right? For example, sponges. Sponges have irregular bodies. Example that you can see down here. So these are example of sponges. Okay, SpongeBob SquarePants tu kan, tapi it's not have square shape like the SpongeBob cartoon. So this is the real shape of sponges. So sponges have irregular bodies. Sometimes it is quite difficult to ascertain the shape. Okay, some animals have radial symmetry. So radial symmetry is any imaginary line through the central axis that can divide the animals into half. Its radial symmetry is like pizza, when you cut pizza into many axes. So example of organism or animal with radial symmetry is Cnidarian and Echinodon. So what are example of Cnidarian? Example of Cnidarians are jellyfish, hydra, sea anemone, corals, and for echinoderm, the example are as follows: starfish, sea urchin, sea cucumber. So these are example of echinoderms. Okay, so you can see this is what we call as the radial symmetry. You can cut from the central axis and cut into half in many imaginary line. Okay, so you can see that many sponges has irregular shape. right? That lacking of symmetry. But like this barrel sponge, some barrel sponge exhibit radial symmetry. Okay. Okay, next, some animals have bilateral symmetry. Okay, bilateral symmetry is only one imaginary lines that can cut the animal into mirror image half. Example, animals in the phylum of Arthropoda. Okay, so what are example of animal in phylum Arthropoda? You can see they are like insects. Okay, including scorpion, prawn, butterfly. Okay, so these are example of animal in phylum Arthropoda. So a bilateral animal has two axes of orientation. Top, which is the dorsal side, right? Like this at the back side of the scorpion, we call as dorsal. Ventral, which is the bottom side. Okay, lateral is the what you call it? Lateral left and also right lateral. Sisi sebelah kanan dan sisi sebelah kiri. And also the anterior part, so the head region, okay, or the front region, and the posterior region, the rear region. Okay, so this is the bilateral symmetry. You can see when you can cut the animal into half. Okay, so this is what we call as the dorsal region, the ventral region, the anterior, and also posterior. All right. So next one is many bilateral symmetry. Many bilateral symmetry animals show cephalization. What is cephalization? Cephalization is the concentration of nervous tissue at the anterior end, or we call as the head region. Okay, all right. So the flatworm are the simplest animal to show cephalization. Maknanya flatworm ialah serendah-rendah animal phylum that show cephalization, or which concentration of nervous tissue. Sebelum Cnidaria, sebelum flatworm. So remember, flatworm is located in the third phylum, right? Okay, let me show you again here. Okay, so the flatworm is here, the third phylum, right? So flatworm is the lowest animal or the simplest animal showing cephalization. So meaning to say, sponges or porifera and cnidaria are not having cephalization. Okay, right. So this is the hierarchy of animal phylum that you have to memorize. Okay, all right. So in chordates. So chordates are the in the phylum of Chordata. So chordate have concentration of nerve cell in the head that form brain. So what is chordates? So this is a characteristic of animal in the phylum of Chordata. I just want to show you, right? Like they have pharyngeal gill slits, what I call it, muscle, tail, right? But the detail I will explain you later. Okay. Next, we go to the second category, tissue. Okay, so some animal are lacking of tissue, but they just have specialized cell, like sponges. So remember, meaning here, sponges, which is in the phylum Porifera, are the only animal phylum that do not have tissue, but they just have specialized cell, right? So from Cnidarian onwards, all the animal have tissue. Okay, right. And some animal have tissue but lack of organ, right? Which is the Cnidarian. Cnidarian is the second hierarchy of the animal phylum. Okay, in animal kingdom, right? So, and some animal have organ system, right? Which is starting from flatworm onwards. Okay, so you can see that there are three classification over here. Satu yang langsung tak ada tissue, they just at the cellular level, which is sponges. And second is animal that have tissue but do not have organ, so they just develop setakat tissue sahaja, iaitu Cnidarian. And animal that have organ system, right, starting from flatworm, phylum Platyhelminthes onwards. Okay, right. Next, number of tissue layer, right? So that is, so for animal that have tissue, some of them have 2 layer of tissue and some have 3 layer of tissue. So what are the two-layer tissue category? Right, so some animals have two layers of tissue that we call as diploblastic. The two layers are ectoderm, the outermost layer, and endoderm, the innermost layer. So the middle layer is only filled with jelly substances with few cells known as mesoglia. So these two layers of tissue or diploblastic organism can be found in Cnidaria. So Cnidaria is located in which hierarchy of the animal kingdom? The second one. Yeah, the second phylum in the animal kingdom, phylum Cnidaria. So you can see here the yellow structure, the yellow color here showing you the mesoglia. So meaning this is the middle layer that contains jelly substances with few cells known as mesoglia. Okay, some animal has three layers of tissue that known as triploblastic. They are endoderm, the inner layer that later on will develop into internal organs, the middle layer that we call as mesoderm that will develop into muscle, circulatory system, and also skeletal system or bone, and ectoderm layer, which is the outer layer that will form epithelium and also nervous tissue. So detail we will learn in chapter 9. Okay, right. So this is the difference between diploblastic and triploblastic, right? So you can see that the brownish color showing you the ectoderm layer, right? The greenish color showing you the endoderm layer. For diploblastic, you can see that the middle layer is filled with jelly material. Okay, but for triploblastic, the middle layer is the mesoderm. Okay, so that is the difference between diploblastic and triploblastic. Triploblastic. Okay. Okay. Next. Okay. Remember, some animal have tissue, and then we have to look at the layer of tissue. Some have two layers of tissue. Some have three layers of tissue. Right. Okay. Next, we are going to look at the body cavity of the animals, from complex to simple. Some animal have a coelom. Okay, what is coelom? Coelom is a body cavity that is either filled with fluid or filled with air. Okay, that's separating the digestive tract from the outer body wall. So you can see that here, right? This is an example of earthworm. Earthworm is in the phylum of Annelida. So earthworm have a coelom, body cavity that is completely lined by tissue derived from mesoderm. So look here, right? The blue color is the layer of ectoderm, right? The first layer. Okay. The second layer is, you can see here, the endoderm, right? The yellow color. And the middle layer over here is the mesoderm layer. Okay, so for coelom, right? Coelom is body cavities that is located within the mesoderm layer. You can see that the coelom is the cavity, right? The cavity here that is still located within. Kenapa within? Because you can still that it is still confined within the red color tissue, which is the mesoderm layer, right? So coelom is filled with air or filled with fluid. Okay, next we go and look at here, hemocoel. The second type of body cavity, hemocoel. So hemocoel can be found in roundworm, right? Where roundworm is fall under the phylum of Nematoda. So a hemocoel is a body cavity lined by tissue derived from mesoderm and tissue that derived from endoderm. Right, you can see the difference between coelom and hemocoel. So hemocoel, you can see that hemocoel is located between the mesoderm layer and also the endoderm layer. Nampak tak? Maksudnya dekat sini dah tak ada warna merah pun. So it is different layer. So it is located between the mesoderm layer and also the endoderm layer. But if you compare again, for coelom. Look at coelom. So the cavity is located within, still within the mesoderm layer, right? So that is the difference. Okay, and the third one is compact or no body cavity. So compact is animals such as planaria. Planaria is in the phylum of Platyhelminthes. So they are lacking of body cavity between the digestive cavity and the outer body wall. So you can see that these all animal having 3 layers of tissue. Okay, mesoderm, ectoderm, endoderm. But some of them have no body cavity like Platyhelminthes, which is the planaria, right? Where you can see that there is no body cavity between the ectoderm layer, mesoderm layer, or the endoderm layer, right? Some animals have hemocoel, right? That is located between mesoderm and endoderm layer. And some animal has coelom, right, where the cavity is located within the mesoderm layer. Okay, okay, so this is a summary about the body cavity divided into 3: coelom, hemocoel, it can be with or without e at the back over here, hemocoel, and also compact. Right, for coelom, remember the cavity is located within mesoderm layer. Example that can be found in earthworm, right, phylum Annelida. Hemocoel is located between mesoderm and endoderm layer. Example that can be found in roundworm, phylum Nematoda. And compact is having no body cavity that can be found in Cnidarian and also Platyhelminthes, which is in the flatworm. Okay, the flatworm in the phylum Platyhelminthes and also in the phylum of Cnidaria. Okay, next, animals are then divided or classified based on their body segmentation. So segmentation means repeated body unit that can be found in the segmentation of earthworm, right? And also segmentation that can be seen in the vertebrate where the backbone are segmented. Okay, untuk haiwan-haiwan yang bertulang belakang, so tulang belakang tu lah yang segmented. That's why we have L1 until L5, for example. We have T1, thoracic 1, thoracic 2, and so on. Okay, so as for, you can see the earthworm also has repeated unit because there is presence of septum, which is the partition between segments. So this is one segment, and you have a back here, another segment, and so on. Okay, so that is general characteristic for animals in the kingdom of Animalia.